with no help or reminder from anyone. Thank you, my friends. And Stanley says you're welcome. Okay, Mark is coming on, and let me quickly go through the agenda because we have a good guest today. Mark Bonner, MD, is going to talk to us about diabetes. And I'll explain a little more when we get around to it. But would anybody, before we start, like to say anything?
Yeah, I'd like to say that Mary Yu's citizenship swearing in was postponed from yesterday because her name was misspelled in the certificate. So her swearing in has to be rescheduled, which was very frustrating for her.
Oh, God. Because, and that was the first item on my thing here to congratulate her. How can you screw up? Why you?
It's probably spelled it Y-O-U.
Oh, that poor child. She must be in tears.
Oh.
Yeah, it's very frustrating and disappointing.
So, Medi, when would they reschedule it?
I don't know. She has not told me.
Oh boy. Well, you look out for your little sister there.
Welcome to the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Oh God, how can you screw that up? Oh, okay. Moving on. Bobby Masters is officially a Rotarian.
All right.
So Bobby's on board. He's not here today, but now, Randy, we can really squeeze him hard for the cart. Although I don't think we'd have to, use our membership to do that because he's a great guy. So if you run into Bobby, welcome him to Rotary. I'd like to thank everybody that has been bell ringing. We have a week to go. And on Thursday, Bill Murphy is up for the second time. So Bill and Rick and Charlie are going to be ringing on Thursday. Ralph Dodd and Bob Church and Joanne will be coming up for their second go round. And it's worked out real well this year. Yes, Jackie.
Will we get a total of how much has been raised when the bell ringing is over?
Yes, Jackie is asking if we'll know how much money was raised, and we'll know that at the end. I wasn't sure if Al was going to be on, so I have here that I would give you a Lori Al Pascal update, but I'm going to let Al give his own update.
Okay, so here's the update. The update is after about 3 weeks of just a lot of coughing and sporadic fevers, we are fever free for probably 4 days now. And Laurie has started back at virtual school. That is, she's logging into her employer, to the Northampton County Public School classroom virtually now. And I'm back to work, and so all good.
And your energy is good, Al.
It's much better than it was even a week ago. I was throughout the day, we were just very tired all the time, little energy. Now we're feeling back to normal. I lost a lot of weight, but I'm getting it back.
Were you hospitalized?
I had to go to the hospital one night because I was dehydrated. Laurie took me up to the Riverside emergency room, and they were really good up there, and basically gave me the fluids that I needed, and found out that I had it had migrated to I had pneumonia in my left lung. So anyway, but the good news is they gave me some antibiotics and lots of fluids, and I'm all back on 2 feet again.
I'm glad to hear that, because some people have really lingering fatigue and just could not find the energy to do anything.
Yeah, I can understand that. Well, we're blessed in that we were able to get through all this, and seem to be doing okay now.
Wonderful.
Al, any other questions for Al? I have one, Al. Did you get depressed?
No, actually, I am really blessed. My son and daughter-in-law live across the bay in Virginia Beach. He's stationed in the Navy over there. And one day out of the blue, he says, go check your front porch. And I looked out on the front porch and he drove across and they delivered a big pot of soup that they made. And they delivered all kinds of, Pedialyte to get my energy level up and foodstuffs and things like that. And the other thing I have to tell you is the short delivery service. We ordered our groceries. I've never ordered on food to go from Food Lion before, but the short delivery service really did a great job in delivering our groceries to us. So as far as getting depressed goes, no, we were feeling pretty good because we had good family and friend support. And of course, our Rotary friends sending us emails and asking about us. So thank you all.
Did you get toilet paper?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yes.
Al, when you got sick originally, was it just all of a sudden, or did it come upon you slowly?
No, I could feel it definitely within a day. I just knew something wasn't right. My energy level was down. I started coughing with this horrible cough that didn't seem to want to go away. And I could feel myself getting fevers. I would take my temperature, Laurie would, and it would be basically about 100.2 or 100.3, not like wild, crazy fevers, but they would come and go. But yeah, I felt it pretty quick.
Could you pinpoint where you got infected, Al?
I was just going to ask that.
I'll tell you, the guy from the Virginia Department of Health called me a statistical anomaly. They called me and they said, basically, you tested positive and who have you come in contact with? I said, I've come in contact with only one other person. I live in my house. I work in my house. I work in my office in my house. And I've actually been sleeping in my office in my house. So I've come in contact with one other person. And the guy says to me, are you sure about that? I said, yeah. I said, he says, everybody we've contacted that's been infected has been in contact with half a dozen or a dozen other people. I said, yeah, I just got lucky. I got in contact with the one and only one person. So it was Laurie was at the public school, and I think she may have picked up the school or something.
Yeah.
But he says, yeah, you're a statistical anomaly.
Hey, Al, I know the night you had to go to the hospital for antibiotics, were you under any other particular type of medications, or did the doctor tell you what to take once you knew you had it?
They said acetaminophen for headaches and fever, and that was it. Just, get lots of rest, lots of fluids. I mean, I was getting dried out, dehydrated. We were going through 1.5 gallons of water a day just to keep my fluid levels up. But that's all they basically said to me was acetaminophen for fever and aches, and that was it.
So you did not get the treatment cocktail of steroids and the remdesivir?
No.
He's not on the short list.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Al, we're delighted that you and Laurie are doing better, and we wish you could stay on the get well trail there. I guess you don't get it twice.
I hope not.
Well, we don't know yet. Since in the last few minutes, Dr. Paul is on and Dr. Mack has joined us. Paul, is your computer broken?
No, I'm downtown Norfolk. I was down here with a medical appointment, and I thought I'd be done in time to be relaxed in my car before the meeting started, but it took a little longer than expected.
Well, we're delighted to have you, and we
So
see
sitting in the parking garage now in my car.
Hey, Paul, are you sporting a new beard there, or is that something I
Oh
haven't seen
yeah,
before?
this is my COVID beard. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
my goodness.
nice.
you have COVID too?
No,
No.
COVID beard. That's his COVID beard.
A
COVID beard.
Yeah, beard, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't get it.
Started-
Jackie will
started
explain it
out, I
to
was
me
just
after
like-
the meeting.
Well, it's just nobody's going out, so nobody cares how they look anymore.
I see. And Bob Church is on. Bob, we mentioned that you and Joanne were bell ringing the other day, and I've sent a picture to Chuck, and we should look for you in our next newsletter. Hey, Matt, can you hear us? I see you're trying to get on.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you see me?
No, we can't see you, but you've got time to work on that.
Okay.
Mac Bonner is our guest speaker today, my friends, and we're working out seeing him. As long as we can hear him and maybe see his slides, we'll be okay. Dr. Bonner, you've got to be on your P's and Q's because we have a couple of docs in our club, but they're really nice guys. Paul Strong here, and where is he? Mark Clark isn't at his station right now, but you'll meet them in a few minutes. Continuing on, I'll remind you next week, we do not have a meeting. It's Christmas week. So Merry Christmas, everyone, a little bit early. And then on the 29th, we have our annual meeting, and I have between now and then to get smart about what we do in that meeting, but I've got Paul Strong to make sure I'm on the right track. One of the things we'll do is approve our slate of leaders for the fiscal year 2021 and 22, and headlining that crowd once again are Chuck Huber, our president-elect, and Reggie Widgeon, who is our president nominee. For those of you who might have missed last week's meeting, Reggie, when as a result of this, what word am I looking for? Succession of leaders. Reggie is a member of the board as a member at large. So Reggie will be a board member starting last week. And then January 5th is our holiday party. One of the things we'll do at our annual meeting is give you all the details on the holiday party. But Reggie, is there anything you'd like to comment, you or Randy, about the party?
There are a couple of things. First of all, we would like to have as many as possible attend. We encourage everyone to attend and bring a friend. We really want to have a lot of fun. Okay. Randy is coordinating the White Elephant gift exchange, which I think will really be a lot of fun as well, and some other activities that we have planned. Would like to know, though, if there are any individuals who have particular talents like poetry or singing or dancing or any of those fun things that you would like to share with us on that celebration, on that holiday celebration. Just we're going to be sending out an email soon with some details on it, and ask that you would RSVP so that we can have a count, so we have some idea of how many people we expect to have to coordinate this program with. And in that text or in that email, when you respond, please let us know if you have a talent that you would like to share with us all, because we know that there are lots of talents here. Okay. Singing, dancing, poetry, or whatever, right? Okay. So I guess if there's anything else, Randy, that you would like to share, because we're going to send an email out in the next day or so with some more details. But Randy, would you like to share anything?
You're on mute, Randy.
You're on mute. Okay.
Well, I'm good. Have we agreed on the gift value limit? Is it going to be what, $15 or?
Well, Yeah, I was thinking about $25 max.
$25 max. Okay, well then everyone just be on the alert if you're going to participate, and we hope everyone does. Start thinking about the wrapped gift that you're going to bring that will be visible in its wrapping. You know, if we have the pictures just like they are now of everybody that's there. So never too early to start thinking about it. We're only going to have a week after the meeting on the 29th, you know, to take care of that, so far as gifts are concerned.
Okay, thank you guys. Move right along here. With you know what? Yeah, hold on here. Happy dollars. And we're going to keep happy dollars kind of short today because we want to get as much on diabetes as we can learn. But who has a happy dollar?
I'll start
Got
you
one,
off,
Bill.
Bill.
Oh boy, they're coming out of the woodwork.
It's $5 for Al and Laurie. So glad that they're doing well.
Yes.
I have to echo that, and Jackie wants to as well. Jackie, what's your?
Yeah, I wanted to give Al 50 cents.
Now, they're happy dollars, Jackie.
I told you, Al. What did I tell you?
I have $300 for Al and his wife.
Okay. I was trying to echo the $5 for Al and Lori. Any
Yeah,
other?
this is Al. Al wants to also do 5 for Al and Laurie, just because we're so glad we're getting through this and with all of our friends' support.
Yeah, wonderful.
Hey, Bill,
Yes.
I've got 5 also. I want to split it 3 for Al and Laurie's recovery, which we're all certainly glad for. And the other 2, I guess, is fitting because it hasn't been much of a college football year. And of course, everybody knows that I kind of pull for Virginia Tech a little here and there. And despite a 5-6 record this year and being in 6th place in the ACC Coastal Division, they made my season and theirs last week when they beat UVA. So I have a couple of happy dollars for my Hokies for beating Virginia this year. Get that Commonwealth Cup back. So
Noted, Murphy.
1-1 in the state.
of course, they lost to Liberty. So I
Yeah,
can't really
big
brag.
time.
Liberty is a powerhouse now.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I want to make sure that I'm able to.
Bill, I've got 10 happy dollars. I'm going to leave the sports out for now because football season wasn't so good for West Virginia this year, but basketball is looking really good. I got $10, 5 for Al and his wife Lori, and also my plumber and his mother who did the plumbing in our unit. She was in the hospital in ICU. She's out now. He's also recovering. So I just heard that today from him. So that's for both of them and for Al and Lori.
Thank you, John.
Law practice.
Okay. Dr. Bonner, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Would you,
I'm really having no luck.
how are you doing with? I think maybe I have to. I'm not screen sharing now. I don't think. Would you want to try to screen share?
Yes, please.
Okay, you do that, and then I will say a few words about who you are and how we met, and then the show is yours. But we'll wait to see how the screen comes up.
Does it come up?
Not yet, but don't panic.
You don't have to do anything.
No, I've allowed him to share. I'm pretty sure. Yep.
You cannot see my screen?
Not yet. You've done it before, right, Mac?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so you should be able to do it again, and we're gonna wait for you.
Well,
Bill, we probably
Bill, I'm
have to
not-
be able to see his video before you can screen share him, I think.
Yeah, you might be right, Bill. Mac, why don't you, have you clicked on video on your, turn your video on? Maybe that might be part of the issue.
yeah, I can see my video. I can see my image on my screen.
Mm.
So my video is on, but I'm not sure why it's not transmitting to you.
Oh, Diane, where are you when we need you? We have a pretty technical, hey, Joan, what do you think? Are you Zoom savvy? Turn your sound on, Joan.
I'm a little bit savvy on Zoom.
Okay, let's see if we can help Dr. Bonner out here.
If he's unable to get the video working, if he emails you or me a copy of his presentation, we can share it and he can talk. That might be the quickest way to get through.
Okay. And did you hear that?
Would it be
Yeah.
worth him leaving the meeting and then starting from scratch, trying it
Trying to
again?
recycle the whole thing. That's the
Yeah,
right,
that
that's the right
usually
way to go
works.
about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
let
Best
me
Okay.
try
off to
that.
start over.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I'll
log
do that.
off and come back on, Mac.
Okay. All right. I'll do that.
While he's doing that, then I can maybe talk to a couple other things that you all are tired of hearing. We need someone to consider taking over the newsletter from Chuck come June. You've got 6 months to get smart about it. Once again, it's not a real tough job. I don't think, I don't do it, but Chuck, is it a real tough job?
No, it's not. And if I could maybe toss a suggestion, we have an author among us. Mehdi, would you be interested?
Mehdi, you're on mute. Maybe you
Mute,
want to be
Mehdi.
on mute. We can't hear you, Mehdi.
Anyway, I don't know that I have time because I do plan to travel as soon as the COVID pandemic is over.
Okay,
And I have a new project of finishing the book that I postponed.
okay.
Okay, Mac is coming back on. I let him in from the, Dr. Bonner, can you hear me? No, I can't hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, I just heard you, but we still don't see you. But try to share again.
How's that?
We see you now. Okay, that's step one. Boy, you're a handsome guy. Now let's try the share. And once again, Murphy, who is never wrong, probably has come through again.
Okay.
Now, Dr.
Can you,
Bonner, what have you highlighted this? No, we don't see it yet. Have you highlighted the frame you want before you clicked on share?
Okay. I have a blue arrow. Do I click that?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's in the lower right corner, I think.
Is it, okay, share screen?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. All right. Now I've got to.
Well, you know what? I had the same problem last week. I couldn't share, and it's not the end of the world. Let me introduce you, and you're going to talk to us about diabetes.
Does this come up now?
Nope.
Okay.
So, so we're going to give up on share and just let you talk to us because I think what you had to say was so impressive. While your slides are probably good, probably superior, we don't have them. So we got you and we're going to make the best of it. Dr. Bonner is a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania. He got his doctorate at Temple University, and he has, what's the MPH from John Hopkins?
Master in Public Health.
Okay. You started. It's coming. It's there. So with that, Dr. Mac Bonner, let me tell you how I met. I met Dr. Bonner over the internet. He was presenting to a group called Healthy Communities that's here on the Eastern Shore. And he shared with us the ABCs of diabetes like I've never heard before. So with that, Dr. Bonner, will you talk to the Cape Charles Rotary Club? These are a bunch of fine people.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Bill. Just a little bit more. I retired as a regional medical director for the Federal Bureau of Prisons about 6 years ago. And one of my last accomplishments in that role was to establish a regional diabetes program for 40,000 inmates in 16 federal institutions in 6 states. I've been involved in diabetes care and management for the bulk of my medical career, spanning more than 45 years. And when I retired, I became the community health outreach leader for the American Diabetes Association. So in the past 6 years, I've been going around speaking to various groups, including the Rotary clubs, about diabetes, trying to raise the awareness about diabetes, both as a public health problem and a personal health problem. And I'm very happy to have the opportunity to speak with you today. So without further ado, we'll go to the next slide. Diabetes is a major public health problem. There are 34 million Americans living with diabetes, but of this 34 million, about 10 million of them are unaware that they have diabetes. So the complications associated with diabetes are going along, progressing undiagnosed and untreated. When on top of that, there are 85 million with pre-diabetes. This is not a benign condition. Once again, this allows people who have elevated blood sugars, who are already experiencing some of the pathology associated with diabetes, to be progressing without diagnosis or without treatment. Diabetes and its complications cost us in this country about $240 billion in healthcare costs. So it's a major, major public health problem. In Virginia specifically, you estimate there are about 850,000 living with diabetes. There are 37,000 new cases each year. And there are 2 million living with prediabetes. And we'll say more about prediabetes a little bit later on in our presentation. It's also a major personal health problem. My hero, Jackie Robinson, died at the early age of 53 from a major heart attack associated with diabetes and blind as a result of his diabetes. The First Lady of Song, Ella Fitzgerald, born and raised right here in Newport News, Virginia, died at a later age, but she had both of her legs amputated as a result of diabetes. So it's a major personal health problem. 400,000 Americans are on dialysis as a result of kidney failure. And every day, 200 amputations are performed in operating rooms around the country as a result of diabetic complications. So diabetes is a major cause of blindness, heart disease, stroke, depression, and disability. You can see that it can have catastrophic effects on the individual, particularly if he or she is a wage earner, on their family and society. So it's a major personal health problem as well. I had 2 brothers-in-law, both who had diabetes, both on dialysis, both who died in kidney failure. Now, what are the underlying causes of diabetes? Well, diabetes is nothing more than elevated blood sugar. And our blood sugar has 2 primary sources. The first source are the ingested carbohydrates, the sugars and the starches that we eat. But the second source is the liver. The liver is a sugar factory, carbohydrate factory, and its primary role is to make sure that during periods of fasting, that there's sufficient sugar in the blood to protect the brain. The brain has a constant need for energy, sugar as an energy source. And in the absence of blood sugar, the brain quickly loses its ability to function. The patient then experiences coma and can die if this low blood sugar is not corrected. So in order to protect the brain from low blood sugar, the liver manufactures glucose, sugar, to protect the brain. Now, the sugar that's in the blood is there simply for transport. Is necessary for the sugar to leave the blood in order to go into body cells such as the brain or the muscle tissue where it provides energy. But in order to do that, it needs insulin. And insulin is produced by the pancreas, which is an organ behind the stomach. And it's the insulin which is necessary to move the sugar from the blood into the body cells. So either lack of insulin or insulin resistance results in elevated blood sugar, which we call diabetes mellitus. Diabetes means running through, and mellitus means honey or sweet. And it got this name because in medieval times, when diabetes was first recognized as a disease, the only way the physician could make the diagnosis was by tasting the urine. The urine of a diabetic patient, it tastes sweet because of the sugar that's in the urine, whereas the urine of a normal person tastes salty. So that's how it got its name, sweet running water. But of course, we no longer taste the urine to make a diagnosis. Now we have modern methods, and there are basically 2 methods that we use for making a diagnosis of diabetes. Number 1 is a fasting blood sugar on 2 separate occasions that is higher than 126, or a hemoglobin A1C of greater than 6.5. Hemoglobin A1C is a correlate for the blood sugar, and there's a very simple formula for converting A1C to an average blood glucose, which is on the screen. And the beauty of the A1C is that it does not vary with diet or exercise. A fasting blood sugar, of course, obviously will change depending upon whether you've eaten or not, how much you ate, when you ate, and also whether you exercised or not. That's not true of the hemoglobin A1C. It is stable over several weeks to months and does not vary with exercise or diet over the short term. So for that reason, it's the preferred way of making a diagnosis of diabetes, particularly when you don't have the patient there in front of you, and it's difficult to interpret what a blood sugar may mean if it's not definitely below 126. That is, if you have a blood sugar that is, say, 150, that is entirely normal after a meal, because the blood sugar goes up to 180, 190 after a meal, but that is definitely abnormal if it's a fasting blood sugar. And so in order to remove that level of confusion about whether it was fasting or not, we tend to use the A1C. Now, there are two common types of diabetes, type 1, and this is what used to be called juvenile diabetes. And this is an autoimmune disease in which the pancreas produces no insulin. And these individuals require insulin from the time of diagnosis. These are the individuals who are typically on insulin pumps. And these are younger individuals for the most part. Type 2, which is far more common, about 90% of the diabetics in this country are type 2. These are older individuals in which the pancreas produces insulin, which in fact there may be more than a normal amount of insulin, but there's resistance to the action of the insulin. The insulin is there in the blood, but there is resistance to its effect in moving the sugar from the blood into the muscle tissues. So because of this resistance to the effect of insulin, the blood sugar rises and we have type 2 diabetes. There's also gestational diabetes, which is diabetes associated with pregnancy. These women develop diabetes during pregnancy. It's a type 2 type diabetes. And when they deliver the child, the diabetes goes away, but these people are at risk for diabetes later on in life, and they need to be followed very closely. There are other types of diabetes, maturity onset diabetes of the young, in which younger people have type 2 diabetes rather than type 1. And that is much more common now than it used to be, largely because of the obesity of the young people. And there's a reverse of that, which is late autoimmune diabetes of adults, which is type 1 diabetes in older people. But basically, we're looking at type 1 and type 2 as a vast majority of diabetic patients in this country. But now let's look at pre-diabetes. Pre-diabetes is a situation in which there is elevated blood sugar, but not high enough to be labeled diabetes. And these are people who have A1C between 5.6 and 6.4. So an A1C of 5.6 and 6.4 is pre-diabetes, 6.5 and above is diabetes. And we say there are about 85 million people in this country who have pre-diabetes. And as we said before, the problem with pre-diabetes is that the complications associated with diabetes, which we'll discuss in a minute, are progressing, once again, without diagnosis or without treatment. Risk factors for type 2 diabetes include age, family history, and ethnicity. Those of us who are people of color, and doesn't matter what color, have a higher risk for diabetes than others. Advancing age increases the risk, and certainly your family history, since diabetes is both a disease of genetics as well as lifestyle. Now, we cannot change our age, we cannot change our family history, we cannot change our ethnicity, obviously. But there are lifestyle changes that contribute to the onset of diabetes type 2 that we can change. And those are our diet and exercise. Speaking about weight, diet, overweight is the primary driver for type 2 diabetes. The fat cells in our body are not just sitting there. specifically the fat cells that we accumulate in our abdomen, both that which we can see, that which we cannot see internally in the abdomen. These fat cells are not just sitting there, they're secreting substances that increase insulin resistance. And so these substances, cytokines that are secreted by these fat cells, increase insulin resistance and cause hyperglycemia, elevated blood sugar, diabetes type 2. Added to that is a sedentary lifestyle, which promotes the obesity and also increases the elevation of the blood sugar. Those of us who are at risk, I'm encouraging you to take the American Diabetes Risk Test, which is available online. And at the appropriate time, if you are at risk, get a laboratory test, to either confirm or deny the diagnosis. And even though we're in the time of COVID-19, the fact is that for people who are at risk for diabetes, there is an importance to knowing whether in fact you are diabetic or not. Because we know clearly that individuals who have hyperglycemia, elevated blood sugar, whether they have a diagnosis of diabetes or not, if you go into the hospital or develop COVID-19 with elevated blood sugar, your risk of morbidity and mortality is much higher than those people who have normal blood sugars. So even though it is a time of COVID-19, clearly those people who are at risk need to know what their blood sugar status is. Complications of diabetes are related to what elevated blood sugar does to blood vessels. While we are concerned about how diabetic coma and hypoglycemia as complications, the long-term complications of diabetes are vascular, that is due to damage to blood vessels, both small blood vessels and large blood vessels. So it is a vascular disease. It is a disease that damages blood vessels to vital organs. And that's the message that we try to give to those groups that we speak to, that it's not the elevation of blood sugar itself, it's what it does to blood vessels of vital organs. For the brain, it causes damage to the blood vessels of the brain, resulting in a stroke or CVA. For the eyes, retinopathy and blindness. For the heart, it damages the blood vessels to the heart, causing heart attack, coronary artery disease. And this is what killed, of course, Jackie Robinson. Kidneys, it damages the blood vessels to the kidneys, resulting in end-stage kidney disease and kidney failure, necessitating dialysis. The genitalia, it causes erectile dysfunction. For the extremities, particularly the legs, it results in poor circulation, resulting in infections, gangrene, and amputations. And for the nerves, particularly the nerves of the arms and legs, it causes peripheral neuropathy, which results in the pain and numbness, which many diabetics complain of. Prevention. Pre-diabetes offers the best opportunity to reverse diabetes and prevent complications. 85 million Americans, they have pre-diabetes, are in a situation where they can, by adopting lifestyle changes, prevent progression to diabetes and prevent the complications associated with them. Pre-diabetes is managed primarily by lifestyle changes. And number one among those is dietary change. And the dietary change is designed to reduce weight by at least 7 to 10%. It is not necessary to get down to one's ideal body weight in order to see the beneficial effect of weight reduction. For example, if you have an adult male who weighs 280 and his ideal body weight may be 210, it's not necessary for him to get down to 210 to see the beneficial effects of weight loss. If he's able to lose 10% of his body weight, say 30 pounds, get down to 250, he'll see dramatic improvement in his blood sugar, in his cholesterol, and his blood pressure. And the key to weight loss is portion control, reduction of calories. Now, while the composition of the diet is important, certainly from a cardiac point of view, it is critically important that there be caloric reduction. so that the weight is lost. The American Diabetes Online My Plate is an excellent reference for individuals. It allows you to then to fashion a diet that fits your particular needs in terms of your preferences and what you like to eat and what you can afford. And that's a good starting place in terms of dietary change. In addition, for those people who have some difficulty in losing weight and adhering to the diet, expert nutritional guidance by a dietitian nutritionist is available, particularly in these diabetes prevention programs. And there are also medications available that physicians can prescribe on a short-term basis to help individuals. And finally, for those people who are morbidly obese, that is, have BMIs of 35 to 40, unable to lose weight by conventional methods, then bariatric surgery lowers the blood pressure, the blood sugar, and extends life. And so for these individuals, the bypass surgery is recommended. Exercise is also important in terms of lifestyle change, but it's not a replacement for dietary change, but is an adjunct. And just like the diet, there should be an individual prescription for the exercise. And we recommend, the American Diabetes Association recommends 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity cardio exercise. Additional resistance exercise is also helpful. And it's also helpful to break up prolonged periods of sedentary time so that if you have a sedentary position, that you stand up every hour or two for 5, 10, or 15 minutes and just walk around. That can be very, very helpful as well. The diabetes prevention programs are community-based programs, many of them in clinics and hospitals, that are reimbursed by Medicare and Medicaid because they have been shown to work. And these employ individuals, peer groups, and experts to assist in the lifestyle changes we talked about, basically dietary change and exercise. And they're found, for example, at a number of our hospitals here in Hampton Roads. Now, in terms of treatment, the treatment of diabetes is either a two-legged stool or a three-legged stool. The three-legged stool is diet and exercise, and for every diabetic patient, regardless of type 1 or type 2, diet is always part of the prescription, exercise is always part of the prescription, and their medications. And each of these is tailored and individualized to the individual. In terms of medications, there are many choices to consider. And we now have what we call shared decision-making between the patient and the doctor in terms of what is best in managing this individual's diabetes. I'm talking about type 2 diabetes. You consider the cost of the medication, how effective it is, the side effects, and specifically whether there are other medical conditions. The most common medication used in treating type 2 diabetes starting out is metformin. Insulin very often is needed much later on in the disease process. Sulfonylureas like diabeta and glucotrol are much less used now because even though they are effective, they cause hypoglycemia, low blood sugars. And we now know that there are medications that can be specifically used for specific individuals. For example, if you're trying to lose weight, we know that some of the GLP-1 agonists like Victoza are important, both in controlling the diabetes and in promoting weight loss, and they're also cardioprotective. Another category of medications is SGLT2 inhibitors, in addition to being cardioprotective and weight loss, are also renal protective. So when you sit with your physician, if you and are discussing your treatment plan, then there are a number of different factors that go into the medication that is chosen, as I listed here. We now want to make sure, though, that if you are at risk for heart disease, kidney disease, or you have difficulty losing weight, that the medication that's chosen is one that will, in addition to lowering your blood sugar, will also provide that additional benefit. Diabetes self-management is very important because for the most part, you'll see your physician maybe 2 to 3 hours a year total. And so for the rest of their time, the diabetic patient will be managing their diabetes on their own. And there's several tools that are available now. Glucometers for those, particularly for those people on insulin. There's continuous glucose monitoring, particularly once again for those who are on insulin. The diabetic patient needs to know how to manage their hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, how to manage elevations of blood sugar, and they all need to know how to manage those other factors that damage blood vessels. As we said before, diabetes is a blood vessel disease. It damages the blood vessels of vital organs. There are other factors that damage those same blood vessels. Smoking, blood pressure, high cholesterol, weight, and of course, diabetes. So these all are factors that contribute to damage to blood vessels. And it's important that all 5 of these be controlled. So basically, I say to individuals that you should know your numbers. That is, how many cigarettes you smoke, what your blood pressure is, what your bad cholesterol is, what your weight is, where your A1C is. And you should know your goals in terms of numbers. If you're smoking, the goal is always 0. Blood pressure, usually the goal is 140 over 80 or whereabouts. LDL for the diabetics should be certainly below 100, and many say below 70. Weight, we talked about. A1C, once again, while 7 is a common goal, that can be changed. If the person is elderly, has already had complications, you may have a more relaxed goal. If the person is young, has not had complications, you might set a goal of 6. So once again, this is all individualized. But the person should leave the physician's office knowing what their numbers are, knowing what their goals are, and knowing the plan. And the plan in terms of smoking is smoking cessation. The plan in terms of blood pressure is diet, exercise, and perhaps medication. The goal in terms of bad cholesterol is diet, exercise, and medication, a statin drug like Lipitor. The goal in terms of weight is diet and exercise, and perhaps a medication. And the goal in terms of your A1C, your blood sugar, is diet, exercise, and perhaps medication. So it's pretty simple. But it's important that individuals know their numbers, know their goals, and know what the plan is to achieve their goal. Interval care for the diabetic is fairly simple. The eye should be examined on an annual basis by an eye specialist, optometrist, or ophthalmologist. Urinalysis every year to look for kidney disease. Feet should be examined every visit, in my opinion. So you should take off your shoes and socks at every visit. The diabetic patient should be screened for depression because diabetes and depression go hand in hand. Depression causes the individual's diabetic not to manage the diabetes well, so it worsens the diabetes. And on the other hand, diabetes is a chronic disease that can precipitate depression. And of course, immunizations, flu, pneumonia, and COVID-19 when it's available, or the mandatory medications for the diabetic patient. Diabetes and COVID-19, highest mortality in Black Americans. While diabetes does not cause a significant risk for infection, it is a significant risk for increased morbidity and mortality if you get it. Hyperglycemia, that is elevated blood sugar alone, even without a diagnosis of diabetes, is also a risk factor. And we know that high blood pressure, heart disease, advanced age are also risk factors for increased morbidity and mortality from COVID-19, because all of them cause blood vessel injury. So that is what I want to share with you in terms of diabetes. I certainly would like to have, we have time for feedback, questions, comments, criticisms, whatever.
Dr. Mark, right?
Mac, Bonner.
Dr. Matt?
Yeah,
Okay.
Mac.
Yes, I have a couple of things. Thanks so much for the presentation. A lot of really informative information, and I've seen this many times, but you make it so simple and easy to understand. So thank you so much for that. I wanted to ask one question regarding the American Diabetes Association. Why is it that one of the options isn't a nutritional protocol option that works to actually handle the diabetes issue? I mean, I've worked with a naturopathic physician for over 11 years who consistently uses natural nutritional protocols to accomplish what the medications are supposed to be accomplishing. Is there any interest by them to evaluate those as another option for the patients to be able to use?
Well, yes. I mean, maybe I did not emphasize this as strongly as I should have, but certainly a basic plan of action is to look at the diet and to individualize the diet. I'm not quite sure whether you're talking about specific components of the diet, but clearly a dietary prescription is part of every diabetic patient's prescription. And I'm not familiar with the diet that you're referencing, but since we're going to individualize the diet and personalize the diet for the individual, if there's a preference to a certain kind of diet, then that can certainly be incorporated into a very effective therapeutic diet for the diabetic patient. The one diet that I do not recommend is the keto diet, because there's too much fat in the keto diet. But the paleo diet is a relatively good diet. The Mediterranean diet is a relatively good diet. And there are other diets out there as well. And as long as they're providing the appropriate nutrients and allowing for a weight reduction, then they certainly can be included. So I think if a person has a particular interest in a certain type of diet, that certainly should be included in their dietary prescription.
Dr. Bonner, you portrayed this as a hereditary type disease. I was wondering, is there any genetic studies being done to possibly in the future be able to cut off the gene possibility of being passed down to your descendants to stop diabetes from happening genetically?
Not that I'm aware of. There are about at least 60 different genes that contribute to the genetic predisposition. So there's it's not just one gene. There's a whole variety of genes, and depending upon which of them you get and what your other predispositions are, you may or may not be at risk. So it doesn't mean that everybody who has this genetic predisposition develops diabetes, and there are people who do not because of environmental factors. So it's a very complicated situation. And it's not just one single gene. If there were one single gene, yes, then we could do some gene modification and prevent it. But since there are at least 60, all contributing in various ways, like a Rubik's Cube, if you will, it makes it much more challenging.
Yeah, I had my fourth oldest brother. He had 4 children, 3 of whom at young ages came up with type 1 diabetes. And the doctor of my brother's family said that is highly unusual for 3 out of 4 children to end up with type 1 diabetes.
That is because type 1 is really not genetic. It's an autoimmune disease. So you would not expect to have a cluster of 3 in one family, as opposed to type 2, which tends to have more of a genetic predisposition.
Okay, thank you.
We have time for one more question for Dr. Bonner.
I'd like to ask Dr. Banner, the association with other autoimmune diseases such as myasthenia or multiple sclerosis or other autoimmune diseases associated with diabetes.
That's a good question. I don't know that I have the answer to that, to be honest. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Well, certainly, my husband was one who's had diabetes and died at an early age together with his 4 brothers, but they all have associated autoimmune disease such as, I'm forgetting the name of one that's very commonly associated with it, but they all have the same diseases and they all died before they were 60. 4 brothers out of 6.
Yeah, the autoimmune process in type 1 diabetes and damages the beta cells of the pancreas and destroys the beta cells, so they no longer produce insulin. I'm not aware of other autoimmune diseases that attack the beta cells, but once again, I don't know. That
I
could be
think
so.
lupus perhaps is very readily associated with it, lupus.
Okay.
Mehdi, I apologize. I failed to mention to Dr. Bonner that you're also a medical doctor. We have 3 medical doctors in our club, so
Okay.
so we're
I am mainly a psychiatrist and I'm a shrink, so I really.
So Bill, you kind of set me up then, huh?
well, not intentionally, and I really do appreciate your sobering presentation, Mac. It is outstanding, and I can't wait for this COVID thing to get over with so I can get across the bridge and buy you a drink or a cup of coffee. And thank you for your presentation. I think all of
One
us.
last comment, Bill. I see you wearing a shirt that says "In Polio Now."
Yes, that's the road. That's
Yeah, I know you have the Rotary has a big effort in Asia, I believe.
all over the world.
Right.
Our mission is to eradicate
Right.
polio globally.
Right. And my message to many people is the same way that we've almost eradicated polio, the ways we eradicated smallpox, chickenpox, mumps, measles, diphtheria, tetanus is by vaccines. And the same will be true for COVID. And for those people who are concerned about getting the COVID-19 vaccine, I use polio as an example of how effective a vaccine can be in eliminating a disease. Smallpox, an outstanding example. Most of us have smallpox vaccinations, but there is no more smallpox anywhere in the world because it was eliminated by smallpox vaccine. And we can look forward to the same type of outcome with the COVID-19 vaccine if enough of us get vaccinated.
Well, that is certainly encouraging, and we will. We talk about our flu shots and our pneumonia shots in every meeting, because if you look around the room, you can see we're kind of an older crowd. All right, Mac, if you will stop sharing, I have a slide to share as we wrap up our meeting. Just because I have a slide doesn't mean I'll be able to pull it off, but we'll give it our best. So we'll see here. Looks like it's working.
Yeah.
And with regard to what we think, say, and do, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And Stanley?
Will we have some fun, guys?
Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everybody. No meeting next week, and I'll see you on the 29th.
Thank you, Bill.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank
Yes,
you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Don Curtis left early.